Oh, spooky noise. Doors squeaking.
Yeah, it's good.
Movement.
It's
Why don't we put it on that?
I just thought it's easier for you.
Second, people. Just show you around. There you go. Oh, little plastic clothes hoist. Very pretty. Oh, you're going to move it?
Yeah.
I thought that was one of our stage effects. I don't know why you're worried about it. Dancing angels. Oh, get a picture of the old cocky. Hello, cocky.
Why'd I move it? Oh, okay, I'll put it back then.
Oh, I don't care. We're on early tonight, so everyone will be asleep.
Yep.
It'll be just the nocturnal people, or people from Australia.
What do you call it? Drama llamas?
Drama llamas. I want to know if you're a drama llama. Are you a drama llama? You were thinking about the answer.
I don't know, what do you mean by drama llama?
Well, loving drama.
Funny drama. If that's possible. I don't want no one in the room that's full of bullshit though.
Oh, we'll do dramatic things like boot them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That should fix the problem.
Don't need
Bit of remedial therapy.
That's done.
What? Put the camera on you for a second.
No.
Yeah. Well.
Don't want the camera.
Oh, it's
on
up
me.
close too.
Oh, don't way.
Oh dear. Don't take it closer, Mr. Golden Mare.
No, I don't want people in that have caused shit to other people. I'm not interested. I don't want them being hypocritical and come in all sweet, but then they go and do shit on their own channel or do it to someone else. Don't want it.
I don't watch many people's channels. Probably got about 20 or 30 that I visit. Usually they're informative, funny, how to do things.
Anyone that's been
cooking.
Nasty to someone else, I don't want them.
So you're going to get upset on someone else's behalf?
If they've hurt or upset my friends that I talk to and have just done total bullshit, yes.
How do you qualify that? Like, maybe it was humour that people were trying to do.
Oh, well, we know the difference between humour and...
So you just don't want the bums that cause grief for people unnecessarily?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. So if there are any drama llamas in here that are like that, my wife says you have to leave.
Yep.
She's the enforcer.
Yep.
Just type in the room so they know you're here. This is not a recording. This is live. G'day, High Country. How are you, my friend? The wife will do her veggie mix in a week or two. But pretty similar, but a little bit different. She has garlic, onion, chopped up, smaller than I do. I just basically do roast veggies. They were yum. We actually had a friend pop in just to say g'day for a few hours, and I said, well, have some dinner with us. I made some stir-fried rice in the morning, added it to the veggies, and it was yum. Those little foil containers that I used, you can even use small ones. Say you go in the bush and you can stay there a few hours, fish, and you want a bit of a feed, well, you can chuck in a couple of cooked sausages in with some of those veggies in a foil tin and just put it near the fire, put some coals around it, and you've got a hot feed. Yeah, have a go at it. Like I say, the only ingredients I put on is salt, pepper. I use smoky paprika, but normal paprika's fine, and parsley. But I oil the veggies up with a bit of olive oil first. I used to do it all the time. I used to cook a heap of that up, and then I'd go camp and I'd fill up containers of cooked sausages and other containers of roast veggies, and when we were fishing we'd just put them near the fire, put a bit of sand around the bottom and some coals, and when we come back you got a hot feed. Won't be doing much cooking the next few days, so I've got a heap of food in the freezer that I've made up, some more braised beef and veg meals, spaghetti bog, I think, haven't we? Is it
No,
spaghetti?
the oil doesn't dry up. I was asked if the oil dries up
No,
while
no.
cooking. No.
What I normally do, and I didn't show you there, I use a normal roasting pan. I couldn't, because I can't fit the new bloody one I bought into that little toaster oven. But a normal roasting pan, put a bit of oil on the bottom, cut your veggies up. Then I get my hand in there and I spin them all around, get them coated in oil. And then I'll put those ingredients on the top in the oven. I only cooked on about 180, but you can cook a little bit higher if you want to, but I never rush in cooking. And you can make them crispier, otherwise you can leave them in a bit longer. Carrots are the slowest to cook, so you can cut them a bit smaller. But the onion's always a good little bonus. Just chuck one onion and we carved it up and shared it. It makes 3 of us. But yeah. Well, yeah, it's not, yeah, it does a couple of things. It helps it when it's roasting. In a normal oven, you'll end up with little roasty bits on the bottom, like not burnt, but cooked. And then halfway through the cooking, you can flip them around. I often do just a whole heap of spuds, high country, and I'll flip them around a couple of times until they're all yum. Yeah, just chuck an onion in there because that ends up, you know, melting down to really soft and goes good with the veg. But the wife does it differently, so you'll see what she does. But pumpkin, roast pumpkin's always good. Roast sweet potato. Sweet potato is good, like, you know, you do your spuds in a fire as well with a bit of foil. Do the same with a sweet potato. And it goes nice and crispy and crunchy, and I actually eat the whole skin and all. I eat all the skin off the pumpkin. You don't particularly like the skin on the pumpkin, do you?
I ate it.
You ate yesterday, did you eat it?
Yeah, it's gone. Nice flavour, I do.
Yeah, it goes nutty, I think, anyway. Your wife adds sauce, and, well, not really sauce. Do you want to just tell them your verbal how you make your veggies? Because it's a bit different. Do you want to?
Oh no, I'll make it. It's easier.
Easier to see you make it. Than,
yeah, I'll make it.
It's different. It's smaller.
It's different.
Actually, have you got a German pancake one on your channel?
It's on my channel, your channel. I know we've both. Yeah, we've both got.
She makes a good. She makes her own pancakes, I suppose you call them, where they're not sweet, and then she'll get mince and garlic and onion and spreads it raw on them, then rolls them up.
Yeah, it is on my
and
channel.
then fries them. So it's on Mystic Angel's channel if you want to see the German pancakes. They're yum. They never last. She'll cook 30 or 40 up, and all the kids come round, and all the other food's left because they get into these German pancakes first. When we get the new kitchen, and I've got a proper sized oven and a nice gas top.
You can do a live cooking show.
Yeah, I'll actually get a bar and put a camera above the cooking area. Because a lot of people always ask me, like, you know, like you're asking the obvious question. A lot of people say, well, how much and how much of this? And I've never been like a cup of this or half a cup of that. I just, you know, a dab, a dob, a taste and think, a bit more pepper. So I do it as I go along. A lot of people have always been annoyed with me that I don't give them a recipe. But food's not about recipe, food's about flavour. But I'll get a bar mounted above, or just extruding from the exhaust fan, I suppose, somewhere like that, and then hook a camera up so you can see the cooking process. When I watch cooking shows, I want to see the cooking process. I get what goes in. Hello, Pixie. Yeah, I've never been, because recipes, all they do is give me an idea. I watch someone cook and think, oh, I really like that, but I'm not putting the anchovies in, you know what I mean? So I'll make my version. And that's what cooking's all about. But you've got to taste your food. Obviously not while it's still raw, like if it's chicken or fish going in something. But I'll be doing more seafood, because we do like seafood. My son's just come back from Darwin.
Son-in-law.
Son-in-law, and he's got red emperor, blue bone groper. So we're getting some of that. So I'll do a couple of videos of that because that's yum. That's reef fish. He also got a coral trout by the look of it.
No, yeah, his mate got that, but they might share. I don't know.
A little bit of fish goes a long way. Yeah, that's right, Hi. It's like I don't use very much salt in cooking because I prefer people to put salt on their plate. There's some things I always season. That's like steak. Do you know what I mean? So I'll season steak, salt and pepper before I cook it. But that gives it a crust. But the only time I use salt. And a lot of things have salt in them, like when I make a pea and ham soup, the smoked ham hock has been brined before it's been smoked. So you've got salt in it. So it needs no salt at all. But a lot of people make big mistakes of putting in salt when that can be added at any time. In other words, say you get to the end of cooking a stew and you think it needs a touch of salt, we can just put a little bit in. Salt dissolves just about instantaneously and goes through the cooking. But what you can't do is take salt out of the dish. That's the big error that people make. They think, oh yeah, a couple of teaspoons of salt, and they go at the end, oh, that's real salty. Forgetting they put bacon or hock in there, and they go, ah. So sometimes it's trial and error. But if you don't have to use salt until it gets to your plate, at least then you can season it to your liking. And everyone's different. So most of my dishes, my kids will get a little bit of salt at the end and put a bit on. But I do use a lot of pepper. I love pepper. If the world was coming to an end and they said you had to choose between salt and pepper, I'd take pepper every time. Yeah, but she'll do that dish next week sometime, maybe.
Yeah, what's today? Tuesday.
Yeah.
I can do it.
The weekend.
Oh, Thursday. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know what we've got
Well,
planned.
we just had a big veggie run for the last couple of days, so
Yeah, weekend. Not Sunday. And not Saturday. So maybe Friday. I don't know.
hello, Kiwi. You're bad to the bone. Kiwi's bad to the bone. There you go. This is Jake, mate. It'll probably be on Mystic's channel. She'll do that. I'll film it for her, and she'll put it on her channel.
Yeah, I've got the pancakes on mine, I think. I'm sure I have. And the potato
How do you
salad.
know a Kiwi's in love? It smells like lanolin. You asked for it, Kiwi. I'm just giving what you asked for.
What's she doing?
He said, come on, with the sheep jokes for New Zealand in that sharing video I put up. Yeah, the boy's in love. How can you tell? He smells like lanolin.
Lanolin stinks.
It's good for you, though.
Yeah, I know.
Now, I've been to New Zealand. They take the piss out of Aussies just as well as we do. And it's all in good fun. Everyone knows that. Yeah, it was a good show. We took the grandkids to that in a place called Caversham Wildlife Park, and they had that little shearing show, which was good. See, that shearer wouldn't get a job anywhere, as you boys know, in New Zealand. Way too slow, but he was doing it for the audience. Barbara. There you go, Barb. Yeah, a mate of mine had a place called New Marracara. It's an old established farm that originally was the governor's property in Western Australia. Big old building. I mean, skirting boards 1.5 feet high, you know what I mean, like an imperial building. But they had the old shearing shed set up and had the new shearing shed set up. And I went out there in the 70s and 80s, and those old shears they use, my jingo, they're sharp. Even though like it looks like it's a hard thing to do, the boys would have callous hands using them, but they could shear pretty quick with them. The only difference today is you could shear 200 sheep with the new machinery, but the same person would probably shear 120 with the old shears. Fortunately, the new shears don't make the sheep bleed as much though. A little bit more delicate. Because merinos are very lumpy. If you've ever seen a merino shorn, it's got all these goosenecks, if you like, all over its body. So what the shearer does, he uses his left hand to pull the skin. I'm telling New Zealanders, they should know this anyway. Pull the skin of a merino and then shear, so all those little ridges get pulled out flat, if you know what I mean. I've sheared a few sheep. I've killed a few sheep. I've raised a few sheep. They all taste like sheep in the end. But when I was a kid, most butchers would just make chops out of everything, except probably the hocks. You know what I mean? Or the shins. They'd save them to slow cook, but everything else was chops. Ribs were cut into about 4, and they chuck them in stews and stuff. Sheep's quite funny when you kill a sheep, big sheep, and by the time you finish, it looks real skinny. Yeah, I mean, here, I used to know lots of teams of shearers when I was a kid, and they were all short blokes, you know, they were all 5'6", 5'7". Never saw a tall shearer, for a very good reason. Tall shearers don't last long. What is the thing next to the rooster? It's, what would you say that little bird thing is?
It's similar to sort of what you bought, MB, while you were on holiday. It's like a garden ornament.
Right, you're going to get a close-up. Here we go. No, I thought you were going to put... Oh, you turn it round. So it's a funny looking parrot, maybe?
Actually, you got to zoom out. You're a bit...
All right, put it down. I'll zoom back out so you can take a closer look at it.
You're a bit close. He's quite cute.
Still got a bit of light in the sky. The sun's gone down. It's a light on an oval, not the actual sun. I could say, oh my God, look, 2 suns.
It's not.
Nibiru. Yeah, some people believe it. They would.
Can't see it now.
You want to go close in again, do you?
Oh, that's alright.
You're a fussy bugger, aren't you?
Okay.
There you go. So I dropped into a couple of hangouts over the last couple of days, and it looks like there's a bit of mayhem, a bit of controversy, which is nothing unusual. But it is coming to a head, and it's all... I know some people might think this is crazy, but getting the crap out into the open is always the best way to sort it out. And I think things are changing for the better, even though it may not look like it. People are standing up for what they believe and making their mark, which is good. There's always buffheads, of course, but I think things are changing for the better. The beggars aren't getting much money. The shallow people who pretend not to be beggars, they're not getting much money. The real good people making content are making money on their AdSense, which is good.
Yeah, MB. Sort of, yep. It's exactly what you say.
It's sort of like a hummingbird, sort of a cartoon hummingbird.
Like a long beak, fat little kiwi hummingbird parakeet thingy.
But, you know, that would probably stand... If MB was standing over next to it, she'd probably be the same height.
Oh, she's pixie, but she's not that pixie.
I think it's the end of that particular career, I think. You can fool some of the people some of the time, bless you,
thank you.
but you cannot fool all of the people all of the time. Can you imagine, Kiwi and Hi, some bloke in your town doing that? You know what would happen here? We'd drag him out and flog him every day. It wouldn't survive in New Zealand and Australia. It's just not possible. I don't know how the Yanks have so much patience, I'll be honest with you. Imagine a bloke like that parking in Canterbury and hassling all the different pieces. It wouldn't last. Yeah, I think it's coming to a head on lots of things like that. Plus there are changes afoot with YouTube. I think someone was saying in a few days there's some sort of change. I don't know what that is.
Oh, is it? In a few days something.
I don't even know what
yeah,
it is.
actually all good, yeah.
But I get a little bit of money each month, but we give that away. But if I lose that, okay, I can live with it. We make videos for fun. And I use YouTube as a storage bank. I've actually got 1,150 odd videos on YouTube, but there's only about 700 that are live because I use it as a storage bank. Yeah, they're changing the goals all the time, but if you're trying to make money, that's what you do. I'd be ruthless. I'd say you can't monetize your channel unless you've got 50,000 subs, and if any of them bought, if you've been a bit sneaky, we close your channel down. And you have to give reasonable content, and you have to, live up to our standards. It's their place. Yeah, I'm the same. I'll pop and go, oh geez, stuff this. Most of it's just nonsense. It's usually a fight. This is the outcome that I've noticed over the years. It's usually a fight between two people with 100 people on either side having a go. In the old days, you just have a fight and be done with it. But no, they'll drag shit on for months and years. And I'm not interested. Even Awesome's channel, and she knows when it starts getting a bit natty-ratty and people having a go, I say, check you later. I'll just leave. Because I can't be bothered with the nonsense. But the man in the van has a finite time left, let's put it that way.
Who cares?
Yeah, I don't really care. He's had plenty of opportunity for people. I don't know, over the years I've seen him, I think 8 to 10 people have offered him jobs, genuine jobs, and he go, oh no, can't do that. Well, it's coming.
And there's some good channels out there.
Oh, we watch some really, I love them. There's like Boss of the Swamp. He's sort of an off-gridder. Nice bloke too. He'd been going through a bit of a hard patch himself health-wise for a while. Looking right now though, isn't he?
He's still got
At the moment, he still looks
surgery
okay.
coming up.
But yeah, channels like that interest me. G'day RV. Yeah, actually I emailed North Shore Towing and said, you're being slandered. If I was you, I'd sue the bugger. Why not? It is slander. I watched about 3 minutes of him saying how evil they were and criminal. Mate, you can't do that to companies. That's slander.
I just read what RV wrote. Yeah.
Can't do that. Imagine complaining because you're on private property and you're being moved on by people that are contracted to do just that job, and now you're calling them criminals. That's not going to stand up in a court of law if you get sued, I'm afraid. You made a statement which is untrue, and the company didn't like the idea you broadcast it to the world, so that's slander. There's a big thump coming, I'm afraid. He's oblivious to all of it. The bit I caught, for the couple of minutes I watched, this is what he said. Oh, and the tow truck driver, when I told him I was an international celebrity and superstar, laughed at me. I burst out laughing when I heard him say that. I mean, seriously, what, 5,000 or 6,000 subs? People only watch him because he's a wreck. No one likes him. The odd fool gives some money to him, and he thinks he's a superstar. He is living in a cargo van with no toilet or shower, a fridge that doesn't work most of the time, craps into a bag, and says, you too can live this lifestyle. Would you like to live that lifestyle yourself?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, me neither. So she's coming to a thumping time because, like I say, I mean, All these e-beggars do the same thing. They always use these words. I'm always looking forward to new people coming to my channel. For a very good reason. The old ones figured you out. Anyway, I don't want to talk about him.
So what's
He's a nobody going nowhere fast, and he's arrived.
what's MB up to?
I don't know. She didn't say she's popping in and popping out.
Ah, fly
She
by.
may be in a big luxurious bubble bath. Champagne, a little bit of caviar. Well, I'm an ex-prison officer, Kiwi, and I can tell you, a jail cell's bigger, and you got a crapper, and you get 3 meals a day,
And shower.
and a shower.
And toilet paper.
Yeah, real toilet paper. No, it's not a lifestyle. It's a miserable existence. Of course, all his close friends help him, don't they? Yeah, no. He doesn't have any close friends. He has acquaintances that don't mind using his material for content. It makes them money, but not him.
Dishes. Waiting on guys with the dishwasher and the ovens. They are installing the new kitchen today. Oh, a new kitchen.
What sort of appliances are they? Miele? I'm just guessing. Smeg? Come on, MB, you can tell me. You know I love cooking. I won't tell anyone else. There's a big difference between a Smeg and a cheaper version. Smeg oven could cost you 3 to 4 grand. The cheaper one might only cost you $1,000. But you pay for what you get. Call that a rooster.
Footy.
Hello, Brent. Not bad,
Okay.
actually. It's not. I haven't got my dressing gown on, so it's
I
not
have.
that cold.
How was business today, Print?
Did you make any money, mate? Did you find a Van Gogh in a paddock?
It is just starting to get cool, actually.
Actually, there was someone online who did something similar to what Print does, which is buying and selling. It's an honest living. But all they went into was leather goods like purses, like Louis Vuitton and things like that. And they'd go all out in the bush, find all these old houses in Europe, and they would buy all the leather goods and make a fortune.
Yeah, it could be Matt, MB, or maybe it's us lagging, I'm not sure.
Can you not hear me?
Good morning, Patty,
Hello, Patty. Come on down.
from Kentucky.
Yeah, we got friends in Kentucky.
Which ones?
Luther.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm still not convinced Tony's gone yet, so he's in Kentucky.
Yeah,
We don't know about that. He might just have given it a flick.
I don't know. Or he's just so sick.
Well, when you can't confirm or deny, you just have to err on the caution, don't you?
Saw him somewhere the other day.
No, he was on here about 4 or 5 days ago, said good day, popped in.
Yeah, and I thought I saw him.
Actually, I haven't seen Mel since we've been out to dinner. People
Oh.
might think that we kidnapped her.
I think work she does 2 weeks
Fort
on or something.
Knox. Patty lives near a very secure building with no gold in it. I'm just kidding. Well, am I? I'm sure America is a very beautiful country, but there's certain parts I wouldn't live in.
Same as Australia. There's parts I wouldn't live in.
The west coast of America does not excite me at all. I love the idea of Texas, going through that area, Louisiana, Alabama, through the wetlands if you like. No, Mel wasn't dinner. Mel, sit down. I have a nice Chianti for you. Would you like some Fabia beans with that? No, we had a good feed actually. It was a Yum Cha Chinese restaurant. Really good. She's a lovely lady. Well, if he was a guard there, he would have to have signed a Secrecy Act when he left. That's how it works at Fort Knox.
Oh, that would have been interesting, Paddy. Or
Not
what
to tell
stories-
anybody anything.
Yeah, what story is allowed to tell, I suppose.
I had to sign a very similar document myself.
And you can never do jury duty.
No, I can never do jury duty, ever. Though I'm not a biased person by any means, but it's the law in this country. If you served as a prison officer or a policeman, you cannot serve on a jury. Which is good. Normally they're a pain in the ass.
Yeah, everything is secret, but it'd be still interesting. Things that are secret, or just it's always intriguing to know.
I've always been annoyed by governments who hide information from the people under the guise it's in the best of the public's interest, which is not normally the case. What normally is the case, people have made mistakes in government and they don't want you to know. It's about how it balls up to be. I knew people that worked at the Perth Mint in this city years ago, and I'm not kidding you, every day they had to get out of their work clothes and their undies, everything. And they would go through a screening process, and then they'd go to their locker and they could get dressed and go home. Because many, many years ago we had what we call the Perth Mint swindle. And people were falsely accused of that, by the way.
Yeah.
But in the end, it just meant, even in the gold mines, here in the gold mines, you are searched every day you come out of there. There's a special section you go through with security.
Don't mind.
Your boots come off, etc., etc. I was on trial last year, so mentally tiring. All I need to know, Kiwi, were the lambs okay?
Oh.
Worst thing in the world is to be falsely accused of something. Even when you're acquitted and all that thing, but you know, shit sticks. People make up stories.
Hey, Shauna.
I don't like that at all. Hello, Shauna.
No, my mum did jury duty 3 times in her lifetime, and then the 4th time they called her up. That was after she'd been diagnosed with cancer. So they let her off.
Yeah, I've been to court many times. Being a prison officer, you escort prisoners. You stay in the courtroom. And the funniest, there's many funny stories, but the funniest was an Aboriginal guy who was from up north, and he'd spent about 3 months in remand, and the judge sentenced him for, he got him to stand up and say, you are sentenced for 6 months, you're eligible for parole at this date, blah, blah, blah. And the judge says, do you want anything to say? And the kid said, so I can go home now? The judge laughed. He said, no, son, no, you're not going home for 6 months. Can I go home now?
I mean, it'd be interesting, depending what the trial was.
One of the ones, and this is a real name, by the way. I'm going to give you his name because there's about 30 of these people named the same. His name was Freddie Flatfoot. Okay? That was his name. Some people are born and they give them a nickname, as you know Native Americans do. So he was called Freddie Flatfoot. Now he was in court because he was brought in by the police. Actually, this is the full story. We were at the pub with the police in Meekatharra having an evening meal, and traditionally the boys that were going to get taken to court would roll up outside. And after you've had a feed and a few beers, you then get your handcuffs out. We used to take about a dozen sets of handcuffs and we'd handcuff them and we'd read them the story, and then we'd unhandcuff them and they would walk into the police compound, which was a big barricaded, 10-foot high fences, no barbed wire, nothing like that. And they all didn't mind going there because in the freezer section, they always used to sleep on the veranda. but they would go to the freezer section and be all these curry pies. So they all go and make themselves a feed. All their families would come in. I'm not kidding you. If we had 10 people in custody, there'd be 50 people in there. And this guy, Freddie Flatfoot, was taken, went to court in another town. About 8-10 hour drive it was to take all these boys into town. On the way back, we had to fuel up, and one of the old Aboriginal boys come up to the van and he said, "Have you got such and such a guy in the van?" And I said, "Well, I'm not allowed to tell you, but if he is here, you can't see him." And he said, "I don't want to see him, I want to take him out and give him a hiding." He'd committed an offence under Aboriginal law. And I said, "I wish I could do that, but I can't. So I'm guessing, but he'll be back here in about 6 to 12 months. He said, "Okay." Then we got to town and we got to court the next morning with these guys. And Freddie Flatfoot was charged with murder. Unfortunately, I did tell you at the start of this story, there are several people called Freddie Flatfoot. And Freddie's standing in the court and the judge says, "Do you plead guilty to the charge of murder?" He went, "Yep." "Do you plead guilty to the charge of a stolen vehicle?" He went, "Yep." Freddie Flatfoot in court was actually caught drunk outside the police station 8 weeks before, and he broke his probation by doing it. The judge was reading a charge sheet out for another Freddie Flatfoot, but Freddie just said yes to everything. And eventually, this is funny, the prosecuting lawyer said, "Your Honour, may I have a word with you?" Not the defence, the prosecutor. And he said, that's the wrong Freddie Flatfoot. He said, "Are you sure?" He said, yeah, that's not him. Freddie was given a slap on the wrist and then a ride back to the bush and did community service for being drunk in public. But he said yes to murder and yes to stealing a vehicle, which were the charges for another Freddie Flatfoot. Anyway, that's the story finished, but it's a true story. Yeah, I've been in court on many horrendous charges by people.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to do that, Kiwi.
People that you wouldn't even think would do these horrendous things. People that you walk by on the street and you wouldn't take a second look because they look like you and me. Yep, no, Sean, Freddie was just, I don't know how to say this nicely. You know, his brain had been frazzled with alcohol for years.
Yeah, he didn't really understand.
So he knew when he went to court, if he said yes, 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 because previous court appearances told to him was just plead guilty and you'll get a lesser sentence for being drunk. You know what I mean? So his idea, he was half listening to the charge and just said, yep, yep, yep. But the other guy, the other Freddie, I think he's still in prison because he got sentenced to about 25 years. And Freddie, he's probably still drunk out in the bush, the other Freddie. But there's all sorts of funny names in the bush. Freddie Flatfoot's just one of them. Akabanda. I'm pretty sure they name them after shoes sometimes. Like, here comes Nike. But it's all changing. Modern surveillance and modern detective technology is well advanced. And when I was leaving the prison in 2003, we would have had out of 300 or 400 prisoners, at least 10%, 30 or 40 prisoners every month being charged from historical DNA. In other words, that rape they said they didn't do 15 years ago, they still kept the evidence, and there's a special unit all around the world. It's the same thing. There's a special unit for historical DNA for prosecuting. And one thing about DNA, if it says 99%, it's you. But most of them would just confess. They're not stupid. They go to court knowing that the DNA matches there. They go, yep, because they confess to hope to get a lesser sentence or not to have an extended sentence because they're already in prison. But that's where technology has improved. I mean, some of the ones I remember, I'm not named after my feet, some of the ones I remember were horrific crimes that no one actually ended up knowing who murdered someone. Well, for a family, think about this family from 30 years ago, that eventually finds out who did it. It's not a great reward, but it's something in your mind would go, well, at least we know who did it. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to explain what that means to those people.
Yeah, some people don't get closure though.
No, I mean, if you lost someone under that circumstance, you'd never
Oh, it's sad.
forgive and you'd never forget. I don't care what anyone says. People say, oh, I forgive you. No, I wouldn't.
Oh, it's sad if something's happened to someone and the father or mother has died, and then a week later it's been proven that they've found the killer.
There's been a few bedside confessions by murderers, like they're dying, who will say, yes, that murder was me. Maybe to get it off their conscience before they pass, I don't know. But even that is some sort of solace to a family for 30 odd years that has never known. And there's been a few where they've confessed and said where they buried the bodies. And that is an enormous relief for the family to be able to collect the remains, give a proper burial. I know that doesn't seem much to most people, but if you were in that circumstance, you can then revisit the gravesite to show your love for someone that now has a resting place. But that's life. We don't get to know all the answers, which is okay under some circumstance, but some others it's not. You can only do what you can do. I'm sure a lot of people are frustrated for all their lives not knowing what happened to someone. That's one thing that I know most Americans understand, and Australians probably do as well, is the amount of missing people each year is staggering.
Well, they're still
It is
trying to-
staggering.
That William Terrell, they still haven't.
Oh, not even, criminal ones, just people that maybe go bush, particularly in Australia, and never find them.
But no one knows. Little William, if Terrell was just kidnapped and he's somewhere, or is
Well, Madeleine
Dead?
McCain in
England?
well, no, it wasn't
Well,
in England where she went missing, but
No, but
English
that's where
people.
it's from, yeah.
We had a famous case in Australia. Lindy and Michael Chamberlain were charged. Well, Lindy was charged with the murder of Azaria. That was the name of the baby. And
It's when the supposed dingo
just missed that. What did
took
Kiwi
her
say?
baby. Kiwi said, I saw so much abuse as a kid where I grew up.
Yeah, once as warriors. That
It's
was
like
real
a
life, wasn't it, mate?
production
When I
line
was a kid,
We're warriors. I
drunk,
yeah.
beating the missus. That was all normal when I was a kid as well.
That was a good movie, Kiwi.
But Azaria went missing. There was blood, and Lindy Chamberlain was charged with the murder of it. She was later acquitted many years later.
They found the
And
jumpsuit
I
the
could
baby
never
wore.
understand, because I know in my state 3 or 4 kids get savaged by dingoes each year. And they kill people. Dingoes kill people. And the evidence that was given was sort of just pointing to Lindy all the way. But it was only evidence that they wanted to get a result. And they then found some of the remains of Azaria's clothing with teeth marks in it that they missed from many years before, and that's what ended up acquitting her. But yeah, so dingoes can eat your baby,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
We've got safe houses, Brent. They have, what do you call it in Australia?
What do you mean?
Neighbourhood watch. We call it neighbourhood watch here.
Yeah, everyone
So
sort of in your
people-
neighbourhood keeps an eye out and lets you know if something's a bit dubious.
Yeah, and you get checked out and everything, because then you get a sign for your yard saying neighbourhood watch or something else where people can run to if they need to, yeah.
I think in the first 6 weeks we were here, we had a couple of kids coming in the yard, and we happened to be out the back. And I was hoeing something, and my miss said, "What are you doing out?" I didn't know she was talking to me. She was talking to these 2 13 or 14-year-old kids.
All up there was 6 of them.
They were looking for something to knock off. And I came around the corner and said, "What are you doing?" And one of the little smartass said, "What are you going to do about it?" So I started running with the hoe. It's like watching rabbits being chased by a fox, mate.
But at first you did turn around with his bungee cord.
Yeah, he didn't stand still though after I started
Right.
running. They bolted like rabbits, and I haven't seen them since. bloke across the road watching me, and he's going, yeah, good on you, good on you. We're getting surveillance cameras put on the completed house. It's called Safe Place, could be a store, school, firehouse. Oh, I know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
She's talking about a place where like people can go for safety if they're being attacked, like kids.
Yeah, same here. We call it neighbourhood watch.
Yep.
We have signs for people in your yard.
Yep.
It's not just schools and all that. Kids are taught they can run into a PlayStation and hospital, whatever, but also
So what we'll do
if they're
when
walking down the street.
we get the surveillance camera, we'll put it on a channel, and then if we're asleep, people can phone us and wake up. So someone's in your backyard.
We'll have 24-hour live stream hooked up to the security camera.
And we'll give access to some people to move the cameras.
Yep, and good idea.
Why not? Yep, we feel that winter is coming to an end.
No,
Yeah, it is.
I don't.
It's not getting warm. But we were 24 degrees today. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Beautiful day. Supposedly in the coldest part of the year, so summer might be a bit of a doozy again, since last year in Australia was the hottest on record. We're probably heading for something similar. Anyway, we'll let you all go. Just having a quick chat and a bit of a g'day. And hope you have a great day. Or in some of our New Zealand's friends' places, go to bed. Cut it off after 12. No, I'm only kidding, mate.
We wouldn't do that,
No.
Brent. Yeah, I gotta go do dishes.
Yeah, I like the idea where people stand their ground. Even there was an old lady in Perth a couple of weeks ago. Some big bloke came up and said, "Give me your handbag," and she did, right across his head. And he bolted. He crapped himself.
Because she also started screaming,
Yeah,
and then the neighbours came out. Yeah.
but I know it's hard to say stand up. If someone pulled a gun on me and said, "Here's want your wallet," I'd give him a wallet. None of that's important. But if it was just someone being verbal and, threatening, I'd punch him without batting an eyelid. Anyway, on that end of note of violence, I'll say good night to you, but first of all, I'll move it back a bit so she's not so close up.
It's still windy. Night.
Alright, so she said good night. I'll flip this around for a second. If I can turn the camera around. There you go. Have a good one, all you guys, whatever you're doing. Kiwi, you go to bed. High country's probably heading to bed or going fishing, I'm not sure. But have a good one. Whatever part of the day you're in, enjoy it. Good night.